There are moments in live television where the broadcast itself becomes the story. Not because of a guest who said something controversial, not because a presenter stumbled over their words, but because the news broke through the studio walls in real time and demanded everyone stop what they were doing. That is exactly what happened on GB News. And once you understand the full picture of what unfolded on air that day, you will understand why it sparked a conversation that went far beyond the usual morning television chatter. GB News, the channel that has never been shy about wading into the deep end of British political debate, was mid-broadcast when its presenters made an announcement that stopped the scheduled program in its tracks. Reports were coming in, they told viewers, that hundreds of migrants were en route to the United Kingdom. Not a pre-planned segment. Not a prepared panel discussion with experts lined up and graphics ready to go. A live, unfolding situation being relayed to a morning audience in real time, with all the raw urgency that comes with it. To understand why this moment landed the way it did, you have to understand where GB News sits in the current British media landscape. Since its launch, the channel has positioned itself as a direct response to what its founders and supporters described as a gap in UK broadcasting. A platform willing to discuss topics that other outlets, in their view, were either avoiding or handling too cautiously. Immigration has been one of the most consistently present subjects in that mission. So when a story involving migrant crossings broke during a live transmission, the channel leaned into it immediately and without hesitation. The presenters on air made clear that they were working from early reports. The numbers being cited, hundreds of people said to be making the crossing, were framed as incoming intelligence rather than confirmed, verified data. But the decision to halt the existing program and pivot to this developing story was made swiftly. Viewers watching at home saw the shift happen in real time. The conversational rhythm of the morning show replaced almost instantly by the sharper, more urgent cadence of breaking news coverage. What made this moment particularly striking was the contrast it created. Morning television in Britain operates on a kind of social contract with its audience. People tune in during breakfast, during the school-run preparations, during that quiet half hour before the day truly begins. The expectation is usually a blend of news, light entertainment, interviews, and debate, all delivered at a pace that feels manageable. When that rhythm is broken by something with genuine urgency, the effect is jarring in a way that primetime news rarely achieves because the audience is not braced for it. GB News leaning into the story so quickly drew immediate attention across social media and within media industry circles. Some viewers praised the decision, arguing that a news channel should, above all else, break news, and that pausing everything to cover a developing situation is exactly what responsible broadcasting looks like. Others pushed back, raising questions about the sourcing of the initial reports and whether the language used around the story carried a particular editorial framing that reflected the channel's known positioning on immigration debates. This tension is not new for GB News. Since its earliest days on air, the channel has faced scrutiny over how it covers immigration-related stories. Critics have argued that its editorial tone amplifies anxiety rather than providing measured context. Supporters have countered that it is finally giving voice to concerns that a significant portion of the British public holds, concerns they feel were previously being sidestepped by mainstream broadcasters. That debate did not begin with this broadcast, and it certainly did not end with it. What this particular moment added to that ongoing conversation was a question about the mechanics of live television decision-making. When a report comes in suggesting that a significant number of people are crossing the channel, a news organization faces a choice in real time. You can wait, verify, gather more information, and then report once the picture is clearer. Or you can go with what you have, be transparent about what is confirmed and what is still developing, and let the story unfold in front of your audience. GB News chose the second path. Whether that was the right editorial call depends entirely on who you ask. From a production standpoint, the interruption revealed something about the channel's live infrastructure and its willingness to flex in response to breaking developments. Morning shows, even those that prioritize news, often operate on relatively tight rundowns, a schedule of segments, guests, and topics that has been planned hours in advance. Throwing that out to go live on a developing story requires both confidence and capability. Whatever one thinks of GB News's editorial stance, the speed of the pivot was notable. The story itself, the reports of hundreds of migrants en route to the UK, feeds into a much larger and deeply complex ongoing situation in the English Channel. Small boat crossings have been a persistent and politically charged issue in British public life for several years, generating intense debate in Parliament, in the press, and across kitchen tables throughout the country. The numbers involve the conditions of the crossings, the legal and humanitarian frameworks that apply, and the question of what policy responses are appropriate. All of these dimensions exist simultaneously, and responsible coverage of any single incident requires holding all of them at once. Whether the GB News broadcast in question achieved that balance is a matter of genuine disagreement. Those who were watching and felt the channel handled it appropriately point to the clear labeling of early reports as unconfirmed and the speed with which additional context was brought in. Those who were critical suggest that the framing of the announcement, the specific language used, the decision to halt programming, the emotional register of the presentation, shaped how audiences received the information before the details were even fully established. This is, in many ways, the central challenge facing every news organization operating in the current media environment. Speed is rewarded algorithmically and by audience expectation. But speed without accuracy or context can do real damage to public understanding, to the individuals whose stories are being discussed, and to the credibility of the broadcaster itself. GB News is not the only channel wrestling with this. But given its particular position in the British media ecosystem and the subjects it gravitates toward, its choices carry a weight that is scrutinized more intensely than most. What happens next for the channel in the wake of this moment is difficult to predict with any certainty. Ofcom, the UK's broadcast regulator, continues to monitor GB News closely. The channel has faced regulatory complaints before and navigated them with varying degrees of difficulty. Whether this specific broadcast generates a formal complaint or inquiry remains to be seen. What is certain is that the clips circulated widely, the discussion it generated was fierce and prolonged, and GB News's name trended for a sustained period following the broadcast. In a media landscape where attention is the scarcest resource, there is a cynical argument that any trending moment is a successful one regardless of the controversy attached to it. GB News has never seemed particularly troubled by that kind of controversy, and its audience figures suggest that for the viewers it is trying to reach, moments like this reinforce rather than undermine their trust in the channel. But broadcasting is also about long-term credibility. The question that will shape GB News's trajectory is not whether it can generate moments that get people talking. It has proven can do that repeatedly. The question is whether those moments accumulate into something that resembles a durable, trusted news institution, or whether they remain perpetually defined by the divisions they stoke. What do you think? Did GB News handle this the right way, or did the channel get ahead of the story in a way that raises legitimate concerns? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. The debate down there is always worth reading. If you found this breakdown useful, a like on the video genuinely helps this channel reach more people, and subscribing means you will not miss the next time a British broadcaster makes a moment that the whole country ends up arguing about.